What is up guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to the following of last week's video. I'm going to continue with the topic of what it's like being Mexican American, but this time in Mexico. And to not make this intro long, let's get right into it. Before moving to Mexico, I had a view of what the country was like. The keywords that I had in my head were freedom, beautiful, and colorful. I didn't really know what Mexico was like because I only visited when I was 5 years old and I had like a very broad concept of it. But besides the memories that I had, my parents and my friends who did go every year would tell me their stories, their experiences, so that made me want to go visit again. When my parents started telling my brothers and I that there was gonna be a day when we were gonna move to Mexico, I got pretty curious. I started like asking myself if I really wanted to move or not. I remember my mom saying that we were gonna have a better life here since all the hard work that they were doing over there was gonna be a result of us having a better life here. We were gonna have our own house and not live in that apartment anymore. We were gonna have our own room. My parents sent a lot of stuff for this house, like furniture, clothes, everything that we needed to start a new life in a new house and in a new country. But the number one thing that got me really excited was that we were gonna be able to have a dog. We weren't permitted to have any dogs at our apartment, just small pets. So that's one thing that really made me want to move to Mexico. But on the other side, I also didn't want to move because I already had my life set over there. I had my friends, my school, and for me to move to another country, to a new place and start a new life was going to be difficult for me. And on June of 2014, we did end up moving because of some personal reasons. I try to set all the negative things to a side and focus on the positive things, and it's something that took me some time. So when I got here, my Spanish wasn't bad. I knew how to speak it, I knew how to write it, I knew how to read it, so it wasn't mucho. But one thing that I didn't know was that all the Spanish words that are invented in the US don't exist here. For example, like in the US, they say laquear, but that word doesn't even exist in here. Another word is park. In the US, they say parquear, but the correct way to say it is estacionar. Push, puchar. Budge, bachar. Quit, quitear. So pretty much they just add like the ER at the end to make it into a Spanish word. So when I came to Mexico saying those words, they would make fun of me and ask me, what does that mean? And when I tried to explain what I was trying to say, they would laugh and correct me. You guys know how when you translate something from Spanish to English or the other way around, like the words switch up? For example, if you say my favorite candy is, in Spanish it would be mi dulce favorito es. So pretty much instead of being favorito dulce is dulce favorito, like the word switch up. That's something I struggled with. Another example would be that I would say tese instead of sete. Se te cayó el vaso. I would say te se cayó el vaso. So that's something, that I struggled with a lot. And the reason is because I got so used to the Spanish in the US. Allá se dice haya, and that word doesn't even exist. The correct way to say it is haya. So if you come here to Mexico saying you're gonna get roasted. Trust me, you're gonna get roasted, you're gonna get bullied, so just say it the correct way. I started middle school, started 8th grade, and here in Mexico they don't go by grades. They say first year of elementary, second year of elementary, first year of middle school, and 8th grade here in Mexico is second year of middle school. So like I said, I started middle school, and here you have to use uniforms. That's the first thing I didn't like about school here. When I entered the classroom, everything went silent, everybody started staring at me, and I was just like, all nervous and shy, trying to find a place to sit. And bro, everything was so difficult for me. I struggled a lot the first year. Like, the school system in Mexico is so different than the one in the US. When teachers would start giving class, they would ask for a lot of weird stuff, like saquen su libreta, voy a dictar. What the f is dictar? Hagan un resumen de la página 187. Excuse me, what the f es un resumen? De tarea les voy a dejar que traigan una lámina de la tarea que acabamos de ver. What the fuck is una lámina? All of that stuff doesn't exist in schools over there, or probably it does, but it's something that I never worked with. So yeah, my first school year here was hell. Oh, and something I forgot to mention was that before starting middle school, I took like this school course, you could call it like that, with this teacher at our house, pretty much to understand how schools worked here and what it was like being a student here, how they studied and all that. But as you can tell, that didn't work out. So I started making some friends. I don't give a f about school friends because they didn't give a f about school. They started helping me with all that stuff that I didn't understand. They nicknamed me El Gringo or Gabacho, and until this day I still have that nickname with me. Something funny that I remember was that I would charge them to do their English homework. Since they didn't know a lot of English, I would charge them 5 or 10 pesos depending on the homework. And I made some money off of that. I think the biggest thing that I learned in middle school was the informal Spanish, the vulgar Spanish, los albures. It's because Mexico is so difficult. It's difficult for people who don't know about the country, for people who are new here. Los albures don't exist anywhere else in the world but in Mexico. They were invented in Mexico, they only exist here. So if you go out to another country and albureas a alguien, they're not gonna know what you're saying. Yes, they do exist in the US because Mexicans live over there, but the ones here are like more diverse. There's a lot more and they're just much better. I won't mention some because then I'm gonna get in trouble by YouTube. But if you do want to search some up, just type in Google albures mexicanos and you're gonna get some good results. Some of them are difficult to understand. You need a good informal Spanish to be able to know what they mean. Look, I'm just gonna say one. I'm just gonna say the beginning of it. I'm not gonna say the last part, which is like the bad part, la parte grosera. Huele a ovo. If someone comes up to you and says huele a ovo, what do you understand from that? Do you know the response? It's like the most basic one used here. So if you do know what it means and you know like the after part of that, make sure to tell me down in the comments. But something that I am going to mention are some examples of the informal Spanish used here in Mexico. I'm going to be saying 5 phrases that are really used here in Mexico, and I'm going to be setting a poll somewhere up here so you guys can answer what you guys think it means. Phrase number 1, tírame paro. Vamos a darnos un tiro. No te cotices. Ponte trucha. No te pases de lanza. If you got all of them right, I'm proud of you. If you didn't, I'm still proud of you because there was a moment where I also didn't understand none of this. So just keep on working with your Spanish and you'll get there. These phrases might have been easy for some of you guys. You guys might have heard of them already. Like I said, stuff like this does exist in the US. People start knowing about it, learning from it, and it's just something normal that Mexicans use in a daily conversation. So yeah, I really like learning from this. It's something difficult to understand out of the country. So now I know when someone me quiere alburear. One day I was out in the street playing al caico with a cousin, and while we were playing, some girls up in the street, they're my neighbors actually, they were whistling. They were making like this little rhythm with their whistle. But you know, I didn't take it into notice. I just ignored it and kept on playing. And my neighbors would say, El de azul. Then after playing for some time, my cousin asked me, you're not gonna say anything back to them? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he asked me, do you know what that whistle means? And I said no, and then he told me, te la están rayando. And what does that mean? Then my cousin said, te la están rayando, te están diciendo que tienes a tu madre. And I was so confused. I was like, what does the whistle have to do with that? And then he showed me, a tu madre. And like, I was like, what the type of shit is that? So if you ever want to rayarse a alguien without saying a word, just whistle this little rhythm. When I started high school, I started focusing more on school because when I was in middle school, I didn't really give a shit. If you ask me what I learned in those 2 years, I don't know. I made new friends, had the same nickname, kept improving with my Spanish, formal and informal, and just kept learning a lot of new things. Around my 2nd or 3rd year of high school, I got what is called dual nationality, which are pretty much papers that indicate that I'm a Mexican citizen. It's called dual nationality because I'm a citizen in 2 different countries at the same time, the US and Mexico. So you can pretty much say that the first couple of years that I was living here, I was considered an immigrant. It took me like 2 years to become a citizen. And if I didn't have these papers right now, I wouldn't be in college, I wouldn't have my ID, I wouldn't be able to vote, wouldn't have health insurance, none of that. So I'm just glad to have all the opportunities that everyone else has in both countries. Then I finished high school, I started college, and I feel like around this time of my life is when I began to get used to living here in Mexico. It took me around 6 years for me to get used to the lifestyle here. In the beginning, I was like, nah, it'll take me a couple of months, but I was wrong. It took me all those years because I was uncomfortable. Everything is so different. But once being in college, I met great people. I started going out more, started looking into my future, establishing goals. And that's when I knew that I loved living here. I truly do love living here, and I also love living back in the States. Right now that I'm here, I miss the US. When I'm in the US, I miss Mexico. And that's the bad part. Like, you just wish to be in both places at the same time. Right now, a good thing about my college is that I'm taking advantage of my English. Because my college demands a certain level, a good level of English to be able to graduate. And the reason why is because all of those jobs, all of those industries out there are foreign, mainly from Japan and the US. So they use a lot of English out there and they need bilingual people. So it's a blessing for me to know both languages. I really hope to take advantage of this blessing and get the most out of it. So this was pretty much my life as a Mexican American here in Mexico. I feel like it's more difficult to have that status here in Mexico because it's more unusual compared to the US. Like in the US, it's normal to see people from all over the world. Like I was saying in my last video, it's a diverse country. Yes, there might also be people here from all over the world, but it's not that common. But either way, being a Chicano in both countries isn't easy. There's one scene in Selena's movie that I really like where Selena's dad tells them that when you're in the US, you have to be better than the Americans and have to speak better English than the Americans. When you're in Mexico, you have to be better than the Mexicans and have to speak better Spanish than the Mexicans. And that's true, you're never enough for people. There's always this thought in your head that makes you feel inferior to the rest. We've gone through racism, we've gone through hatred, through a lot of barriers. Till this day, I still get teased for my Spanish, for things that I don't know. I still have problems for my nationality, for not being born here in Mexico. And it's the same thing out there in the US. There's going to be barriers in the way that are going to try to stop you. But like I said in my last video, if we stick together, if we help each other out, we're unstoppable. So all I got left to say is that I'm proud of being Mexican American. I'm proud of representing the US and Mexico. I'm proud of listening to Chalino and Tupac at the same time. Nothing embarrasses me. I'm not embarrassed to say where I was born, where I'm from, where my parents are from, where I lived, where I'm living. I'm proud of all of that. This is why I have both of my flags here. The Mexican flag represents my blood and my roots. The American flag represents my birthplace and my life. I will fight until my death to show society that also Mexican Americans are dreamers and we're here to fulfill those dreams, that we're hardworking people and that we just want to be successful in life. And in general, it feels nice when we see our people succeed, when we see them grow. There's a lot of Mexicans, a lot of Latinos out there that are breaking through all those barriers that I just mentioned and showing the world what they're capable of. They're drastically changing the way we see things, and I'm in love with that because they represent us. They demonstrate the type of people that we are, and if they can do that, we can too. This concludes this topic. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you relate to my story and you want to say or express something, make sure to comment down below. I would love to read what you have to say about this. If you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. Turn my post notifications on for my future videos and comment subscribe down below for a shout out. See you guys soon.
Listen, being Mexican American is tough. Anglos jump all over you if you don't speak English perfectly. Mexicans jump all over you if you don't speak Spanish perfectly. We got to be twice as perfect as anybody else. And we got to prove to the Mexicans how Mexican we are, and we got to prove to the Americans how American we are. We got to be more Mexican than the Mexicans and more American than the Americans, both at the same time. It's exhausting. Man, nobody knows how tough it is to be a Mexican American.
Pero como dice, no somos de aquí ni de allá.